Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. We're here today to talk about our federal employee marketplace. It's a large, untapped market, and today I'm with you. I'm the National Business Development Director and the owner of Federal Employee Benefits Advocates. We are an educational company based in Shreveport, Louisiana. I've been working with federal employees now for about 11 years. Over that period of time, I've probably spoken to somewhere in the neighborhood of around 25,000 plus federal employees. This is all that I do. We're strictly an educational company. We're not an IMO, an FMO. We're not licensed. So that's usually one of the first things we like to get out of the way right up front, is we're not here to take any of your commission. Also joining us and hosting us today is Nick Woodward. He's our senior online strategist. Nick controls all of the activities that have to do with any of our sales and marketing that relates to the internet and ongoing business strategies. So you're here today because you're looking for an opportunity in a relatively undiscovered niche market. There's lots of opportunities when you look at the federal marketplace. The federal employee marketplace is filled with lots of opportunity. Just to give you some statistics, there's about 2.7 million federal employees, making it the largest full-time employer in the United States. The federal workforce is aging. When you look at them, 39% of the workforce is age 50 or older, compared to about 24% in the private sector. The average age is about 47, with about 16.3 years of service. And according to the Office of Personnel Management, beginning in 2018, 1 out of every 3 federal employees will be eligible to retire. So that means you're talking about an unprecedented number of somewhere in the neighborhood of 776,000 people. The federal workforce is also competitive. That's one of the things I find, is that people have a misnomer that federal employees are not well paid. Well, they have to be well paid in order to compete with the private sector. They also have an excellent benefits package, but there's some Achilles heels, and those provide some opportunities for assistance. And then as far as the location, about 85% of the federal employee population resides outside of the Metro DC area, with the top 10 areas being California, Texas, Virginia, Maryland, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Illinois, and Ohio. So when you look at the areas, there's basically 7 key areas that make themselves available to work with federal employees. Not every federal employee is going to present all 7 opportunities, but there are quite a few of them. So just to give you a little background, there are 2 retirement systems within the federal government. There's the old system, that's the civil service retirement system. That system, as of this year, is 100 years old. It closed out at the end of December 31st, 1983. Of that population, only approximately 2%, or about 55,000 federal employees, remain covered under that particular system. The new system is everyone covered under the federal employee retirement system, and that system came into place for those employees hired January the 1st, 1984 and beyond. They have a defined benefit plan, which is a pension, and in doing so, they have survivor options that they must choose. The difference between the old system and the new system is, under the old system, as a normal course of employment, they don't pay into Social Security, so they tend to have much larger pensions. Under the new system, they pay into Social Security, and many of their benefits will integrate, and they have a thrift plan. So the first thing is pension income or pension maximization, where essentially what you're helping them to choose is the right survivor option, and possibly offsetting some of those survivor incomes by using a life insurance, a protection type product, typically a permanent product that would allow them to provide the replacement income that they would need for their survivors. There are some caveats on what they can and cannot choose, and there are some requirements that they must have a pension coming into their survivor in order to maintain health insurance at the employee rate. The other area of opportunity that I find that many of the employees that are affected by this are not aware of it is federal employees that are covered under the FERS system. If they have less than 10 years of service and they're not 62 with at least 5 years of service, they don't have a pension. And so that creates 2 things. One is it creates a lack of income. The other that it could potentially create is their ability to have the surviving members of the family maintain health insurance at the employee rate. So you've got really a twofold issue there. They do have access to some group insurance, but if you do the numbers, you'll see that in most cases that's not completely adequate to replace their income. So that in itself would lead itself to a potential life insurance protection type of program. The other is they have a defined contribution program like a 401k, but it's called a thrift plan. Only all employees can participate, but only the FERS system allows them to have matching contributions. They have both a traditional and a Roth option, and they're very limited on their fund choices. They only have 5 fund choices, and unfortunately about 40% of the money is invested in the TSP is invested in essentially a money market fund or the G fund. So they need assistance in properly allocating their assets while they're employed, and also making sure that, you know, as times have had recently where the market takes a dip, that they don't bail out at the wrong time and end up locking in a loss. They also need to look at what their distribution options and needs will be. So again, that presents opportunities to assist them while they're employed, and then afterwards potentially use the assets as a methodology to help them fund their retirement and potential vehicles that would be outside of the TSP. Under the old system, the CSRS system, they have another type of defined contribution program called the VCP, the Voluntary Contribution Program. And this was created many, many years in advance of the creation of the TSP to give federal employees a way to save money. This is essentially a fixed account. And, you know, prior to a change in the law in 2008, it wasn't anything exciting, but the IRS came out with a ruling in 2008 that allows this type of plan, this type of after-tax voluntary contribution program, by virtue of the IRS Rule 208, to essentially put money up to 10% of everything they've earned over their entire working career into this account, and then by virtue of this law allows them to move the money into a Roth IRA, thereby avoiding the contribution limits and the income limits in some cases. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking non-qualified money that they're getting a 1099 on and potentially probably using for rainy day funds and moving it to a Roth, thereby increasing the amount they can contribute and potentially eliminating a tax liability for the 1099. So just to wet your whistle a little bit, here's some information about the TSP balances. The TSP is the largest pension plan in the world. When you look at the number of participants that they have and the average age and their average amounts, represents quite a significant opportunity for those people that are in the business of helping, you know, gather assets and distribute them through various products that are available depending on your licensures. The other areas the final 3 areas come in the area of risk management. The first is their federal employee group life insurance. This is the largest life insurance program in the world with over 4 million active and retired federal employees. They have several different choices. They have a basic, they have an option A, and they have an option B and a C. The option B is where they get most of their coverage. It's a salary multiple up to 5 times. The challenge is that when they're very young, it's very inexpensive. However, when they get into their 50s, it becomes very expensive. And so there is a possibility over their lifetime, they could actually pay more into premiums than they would ever get out in a death benefit. So that presents an opportunity for a life insurance program that could possibly take care of multiple needs, both while they're younger, maybe covered under the situation where they don't have 10 years of service, and then and beyond into retirement. Another opportunity is in the area of disability. Essentially, they have a disability retirement. The challenge is that after the first year, it goes to 40% and is taxable, and most people cannot survive on that type of income. So that presents an opportunity to either position a standalone disability policy or maybe some type of life insurance benefit with a living benefit riders that cover the areas of disability. The other is in the area, again, with just basic financial planning, is estate planning, has to do with long-term care. And the long-term care program they have available with the federal government is with John Hancock. In October of last year, they recently revised that program for the 3rd time, and there were some significant reductions in the benefits and significant increase in the cost. So that presents, again, an opportunity for a standalone long-term care policy, or again, maybe a combination where you take care of multiple needs with life insurance. I will point out that their federal long-term care program is set up as a standalone per individual, so there's no combining coverages of spouses and those types of things. So it can be an attractive offering for those individuals that are single, but oftentimes if they're married, private sector plans can serve them better. So at this point, there's probably two questions that you have. The first is, what's the best way to find new prospects and turn them into clients? And then the next way would be to, how can you get the professional knowledge you need to work with federal employees? So our program is called FedEd. We also offer a seminar program. So let's take a look at how both of those programs work. So the first one is the FedEd, is its financial advisor training program. And what this does is this gives you the, for some reason my screen's not operating properly, I apologize. The FedEd program gives you the knowledge, tools, and support you need to work with federal employees. And then also we have seminar programs that are available to be licensed to help you educate federal employees to build relationships with them and hopefully earn their trust and the opportunity to do business with them. So let's start first with our FedEd program. The FedEd program is designed to typically be a 2-day hands-on program, but you know, when things change and the world moves another direction, we have decided to start offering this class virtually. Once things get back to where they're kind of back to normal, if you will, we'll also offer them in person. I think a lot of people prefer that format. I actually prefer it myself because I get to interact with the advisors, which to me is a lot more fun. But that having been said, you know, for the present time, we're offering this as a virtual program for 3 days, 4 hours a day. Now, the program starts with a pre-study guide. This pre-study guide, what we try to do is get this out to you about 2 weeks in advance of the class. That's the reason why we typically will close the class for registration about 2 weeks in advance. We want to give you the opportunity to be able to review the materials that you'll need to come into the class so that you're prepared for it. Much like if you took an exam for your insurance license or securities license, oftentimes they will send you a study guide in advance so that you're prepared and you come in for the different concepts to be expanded upon. Then what we would do in this particular case is we have a classroom workbook. This will be a 2-up of all the slides that we'll go over, and where appropriate we'll have the materials expanded to a full page and charts. And then we also have different exercises that we take you through so that you really understand how exactly the process works, and so that it's, you know, it's kind of like if you remember back maybe in high school or college where you would take a class and then you could figure out that you could actually do it on a calculator much quicker, but you knew the basic concepts. And so that's the way this works. And so we do have a calculator that we'll talk about a little bit later on. And what will happen with these particular books, the classroom and the marketing book, it'll come to you about 2 days before the class so that you'll have an opportunity to have that there and ready and be prepared when the class starts. We'll also help you with our marketing program. This is kind of one of the things that really differentiate us from anyone in this particular space. Most people are in the business of trying to sell you a fish or feed you a fish, and where we're in the business of teaching you how to fish. I've been in the financial services industry this month. Matter of fact, almost tomorrow will mark my 31st year in the business. And at 32nd year in the business, I take that back. And so what I've determined over that period of time is that most people, advisors, want to have control over their marketing. And so that's the reason why we set up the business model that we did, so that we can teach you how to identify, locate, and communicate with federal employees in the federal market space. So we go and take you through and find you different ways to create organic lists for the purposes of prospecting directly to federal employees. In some cases, you'll be able to find home information, so you can prospect them to them at home for the purposes of doing a business analysis, or you may be able to prospect them at their place of business to do the analysis as well. And I said business analysis is actually analysis of their retirement and their benefits. Or we also teach you how to prospect directly to federal agencies. We also teach you how to become a federal contractor so that you can have the right to go in and bid and be vetted by the federal government, and use that as a methodology to show that you've been, if you will, vetted by the government to be able to go in and offer these programs. So this is, and then the hybrid of that would be to do maybe something along the lines of an off-site meeting where you would invite them to come in to an off-site location, like maybe a library or some public facility, to offer them some type of benefits training. In addition to that, we also have marketing materials available. Some of these materials come for free as a result of coming through the class. Other materials are available for purchase, and those can be purchased through our online website. At the conclusion of this class, everyone that signed up or even registered for the class will get a copy of this recording, and then we'll also send out a link to our online store so you can look at our different offerings that we have available. In addition to that, we also make postcards available. These can be ordered in quantities of up to 500. What we do on that is we simply print the cards and send them to you. If you want us to put in, if you want us to mail merge the address and to do the postage, we can do that. We require at least 1,000 pieces, and that would be a separate price that we would set up and negotiate. We can talk about that on a sidebar if you're interested in that, but it covers all the different ways to prospect to them, to do a benefits analysis, to do join us at an off-site, to try to get on-site with the various federal agencies. We also provide you with a software tool. This is from a company called Ready Retire Solutions. Since the inception of our firm, we have partnered with Ready Retire Solutions to be able to provide this software. I think it's a critical part of the training program. It's, again, another differentiator. Nobody else gives you this type of software, and it allows you to do an analysis on the federal employee benefits. If you were to go out and purchase this on a street value, you're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of north of $600. And so in our particular case, we get a discount, and we include this as a part of the program because we think it's so critical. We offer the training on this separately, and the support comes from the vendor, but it does give you a comprehensive, and it really gives you kind of an attraction to the federal employee to sit down with you because you're going to provide them something meaningful, and it's also something that you can use and update over the years as you work with the federal employees. But this does come as a part of the program. The digital resource guide, these are about 85 different forms that you're going to use in the course of working with federal employees. These are designed to give you kind of a leg up on your learning curve with federal employees, and to help you if you need to take a deeper dive on some of these programs. Some of these things have changed, particularly some of the documents as they relate to the TSP. The TSP has gone now to a form wizard that only the federal employee can access, and part of the reason for that is they had a pretty high, like a 50% NIGO, not in good order rate, and so they have forced fields now, so you can't necessarily submit the forms for the federal employee. They have to do it, but certainly you can do it with their help. But again, this comes to you as a part of the class. What we do in the digital virtual world, we send it to you as a zip file that you can use and unzip and download. We also give you the ability to test your knowledge. It's an online exam. This is 75 questions. Currently, because if we do it virtual, we can't offer CE credits except for CFP. When we start offering it in person, there are other states that we have that are available, and you can go to our website at FEBadvocates.com and you can look at what those states are. So we'll advertise those when we start doing it live again. But again, it's a 75 question exam. You have 2 hours to take it. If you successfully complete it, we send you a certificate that says that you have been completed the FedEd Advisor training program. One of the questions we get is, is this a designation? No, it's not a designation. And as a matter of fact, the federal government doesn't recognize any designations in this area, nor does FINRA. FINRA does not review, nor do they approve any designations. So if you've been told that by other organizations, it's simply not true. And so from that standpoint, what we try to give you is a clear and positive program outcome by providing you the knowledge, tools, and support that you need to be successful in the federal space. So this is a comprehensive program. As I mentioned, we have 12 hours of CFP credits. You get the pre-study guide, the classroom workbook, the digital resource guide, the Ready Retire solutions, and the online training. Now, the cost of the class is $16.95. Let me back up for just a second and talk about the Ready Retire solution software. They also have an upgradable version that would allow you to also look at state-defined benefit plans. So every state in the United States, so if you're working with teachers in the state of Texas or state of California, they have the software that covers those various retirement programs. Now that is an upgrade, and that's something that you would discuss with Ready Retire Solutions. So at this point, what we're going to do, Nick, is we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines and see if, at this point, if anyone has any questions specifically about the FedEd Advisor Training Program.
Excellent. Anybody who might have a chat, go ahead and put it in chat. Or if you see yourself muted, I hesitate to unmute everybody at this point, but if you'd like to unmute yourself, go ahead and speak. Go for it. And not seeing anybody, Sean, I think we're good to move forward.
All right. So if there's no questions, it looks like we'll go ahead and go on. So that's the first part of the program that we offer, which is the FedEd. The other part of our program that we offer is our FEBA seminars, Federal Employee Benefit Advocate seminars. These are designed to be delivered in a classroom type setting. Right now, they're not approved to be done virtually. I'm in the process of trying to do some conversion to be able to make that available. Right now, just so you're clear, these are only available to be done in person, not via webinar. So the FEBA seminars, they're complete package seminars. They come in full day and half day versions for both the FERS and the CSRS. And then there are independent modules on each of the 7 sections, so that if you want to go in and do a lunch and learn, you could do one on the TSP or Social Security or disabilities. So these make them, readily available. We have the materials that support those as well in the workbooks. I've had questions that come up quite frequently is, can I just, license one of the modules? No, we don't do that. Those come as a part of the total package. We also have a basic financial literacy program. This could be used with anyone, anywhere. It's not just germane to federal employees. And we created this because what we typically will do is we'll typically do a full day briefing followed by a half day financial literacy. So this picks up other areas that are of interest to federal employees that are not necessarily a part of their benefits. And then our newest seminar that we offer is divorce and its effects on federal employees, and this is offered in a 2- and a 4-hour version. So these are comprehensive programs. The full day books and half day books become valuable resources for the attendees. The workbooks are only color on the outside. The inside pages are not color. They're black and white. If you wanted us to quote you a price on color, we can do it, but it's quite expensive to do that. The price for the full day books are $10, half day books are $8, then the modules run $2 to $3. So these are a kind of an example of the way the slides are set up. Some organizations will set them up where they try to cram as many slides on a page as possible where people can't read them. What we try to do is make it not only where it's legible, but also where they can take notes, and then where appropriate, we will expand the diagram or the chart so that it's a full page and it's easy to read. And also what we try to do is use some graphical content to help the employees understand some of the more complex concepts that they go through. One of the big and unique programs that we offer on our full day is a benefits worksheet. This is a worksheet that the employees go through when they come through a full day class. And oftentimes I've had advisors say, well, Sean, doesn't that negate the reason for them to sit down with me afterwards because you're providing them all the information? And my answer is no. What it actually does is three things. First off is it gives them the opportunity to look at their benefits on a holistic basis, which many times they have not. And so as a result, that oftentimes will provide some level of concern that they think they've looked at everything when the reality is they probably haven't. The second thing that it does is it allows them to take this information home and share it with their loved ones, significant others, or their spouse so that they can look at this comprehensively. And then the third thing that it does is it kind of acts as the initial fact find when they sit down with you so that you get an idea as to, kind of what their angst points are and what the things are that they're interested in looking at. And again, oftentimes I'm asked, do we provide these or do we make these available? No, these only come in the full day books, and so we do not sample or license these out separately. This is another program that we offer if you license the material. This is a form fillable PDF that you would use when you're setting up briefings to invite the attendees. So this could be sent out to the point of contact, or this could be sent out to individual employees to invite them to maybe an off-site meeting. But again, this comes as a part of the seminar program if you license the material. In addition to that, we also have available a summary report. Typically, we use this in a situation where you contract with us to come out and deliver the briefing. So essentially what we do is we collect all the evaluation forms, we summarize them into a report that scores them both numerically and as a percentage, and then we attach all the evaluation forms for this. And this really has a multifunction purpose as well. What it does is it allows you an opportunity to go back after the briefing and sit down with the point of contact to review the level of satisfaction that the employees had with the services that were provided. So kind of doing what you said, saying what you were going to do. The next thing that it does is it allows the point of contact to use this as a document that they can, move around to other key contacts, point of contacts within the agency, supervisors, managers, executives within the group. And then it also provides you an opportunity to use it to ask for referrals with other agencies that they may interact with. So again, we found that this is, again, a differentiating factor. Nobody else in this space does this types of program. And so this just tends to make us, a little bit more attractive when we're working with the various federal agencies. This is an example of the financial literacy program. As I mentioned previously, this is really just designed to be additional education. Covers a multitude of areas. Probably one of the more important areas that it covers as it talks about estate planning, wills, trusts, those types of things that are all part of the estate planning process, and it starts a conversation. Also allows you to work with other qualified professionals such as attorneys and CPAs to help maybe drive business to them and then drive business back to you in that relationship. This is an example of our divorce seminar. This is our newest seminar, and this is a niche, if you will, within a niche. There's a lot of unsavory things that can happen to federal employees if they get divorced, and the challenge is that most attorneys don't know how to deal with this. So this is an opportunity for you to really kind of highlight that, additional level of knowledge that you possess, and at the same time potentially build some strategic relationships with attorneys. I've even had some groups that have discussed just offering it specifically to attorneys. That would be your bailiwick, not mine. But anyway, so that's just another opportunity. We have all the materials that support the divorce program. So we give you the communications, the complete benefit training, the benefit workbooks and the worksheets, and of course the summary reports. These are all part of the programs that we offer. So those are the two programs that we offer, the FedEd Advisor Program and the FEBA seminars. So before we get into the pricing on this, what I want to do, Nick, is open it up to see if anyone has any questions about what we've covered so far regarding the FedEd Advisor Training Program or the FEBA seminars.
All right.
Hello?
I'm not seeing any questions, but anybody who wants to unmute or chat a question, go ahead.
This is John Clausen. I have.
Hi, John. How are you?
I am well. Thank you very much. I hope you are well, staying safe, and everybody's well.
Yeah.
I have a question on whether or not for both the training program and what you're going to talk to about the seminar situation program, do you have an option where if you have multiple advisors in a team, for example, and you want to take 2 or 3 advisors through this program, do you have a discounted combination thing that can be offered?
We don't necessarily have a discounted combination or a volume discount is what you're referring to. What we can do, John, is we can have an offline conversation. On the seminar programs, we can set up what's called a site license, which is essentially you have one single site that a user that's responsible for the materials, and then the other users get to participate, but they don't necessarily get their own copy of it. So if that's something that's of interest to you, we can certainly have that conversation. Also, just to throw this out there to the group, you know, if you have 3 or more people, we can come to your location. If we have less than 5, we charge you for our travel and you know, other related expenses with that. Or we can also, if it's less than 5 but more than 3, we can also you know, do that. But if it's more than 5, we don't charge you for the travel. We can also set that up if you'd like us to do the virtual training. We can do that as well. So we try to be flexible in that regard. So if, you know, if the time frames that we have set up don't necessarily work for your group because of your the time zone you're in, we can certainly have a conversation about what would work for your group. But we generally require at least 3 people in order to conduct that.
Thank you.
Hello.
All right, John, thank you. Yes, any additional questions?
Hello, this is Tony. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tony, how are you?
I'm doing fine. My question is there a way that we can get a copy of the federal government retirement list in our state for people getting ready to retire?
That would be absolutely phenomenal if we could provide that to you, Tony, but I don't know anywhere that exists.
Okay.
You know, we have methods that we teach you in the class of how to prospect to various organizations, and we can show you where they work. We can show you what their title is. We can show you what their pay grade is. We cannot necessarily tell you, you know, whether or not they're, you know, 59 and a half and they're getting ready to retire, or 57 with 30 years. That's not information that we can provide to you.
Yeah. Prior to 911, I was able to get a listing along that line. It only cost me like $20, and it was under the Freedom of Information Act. And since 911, they have not allowed it. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
Yes. It's that's one of the things, unfortunately, that you know, that particular tragic event caused a lot of the scrutiny. And there are certain agencies you can't really find information out about very easily, such as anything to do with the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, Internal Revenue Service, anything that has to do with law enforcement, military. You can't necessarily get the information like you can other agencies. But again, we teach you how to put together a pretty substantial list. Again, it depends on, you know, how you want to conduct it. And that's why we try to encourage you to use several different methods, because depending on where you live, you know, it might be much easier to access people in Wyoming than it would be maybe in people in Vienna, Virginia. So we just, you know, we teach you different methodologies, and then, you know, encourage you to try all 3 methodologies to figure out what works best in your area. But thanks, Tony, for the question.
Yeah.
Any additional questions?
Seeing what 3 methods you're recommending, you know?
Well, the methods are prospecting directly to federal employees, prospecting to federal agencies, and then prospecting to employees and agencies to offer off-site meetings. Those are the 3 methods. Those are the 3 options that we.
Are you saying advertising?
No, we're talking about prospecting, whether it's via email, snail mail, or postcard, or whatever the case may be. That's what we teach in the class.
Yeah,
that's what we teach on the marketing class.
Names and addresses of these people prior to prospecting. How do I go about that?
That's what we teach you, Tony. That's what we teach in the class.
Oh, okay.
How to find them. Yep. Okay. All right. Any additional questions?
Thank you much for your help.
All right. Any additional questions? Okay, so let's look at some of the costs associated with the programs. We'll mute everybody, Nick, except for me. So the way it works is this: we have a licensing fee that you charge. You don't buy the materials; you license them. They're a single license user. So typically in the past, we've charged $2,500 for the CSRS and $2,500 for the FERS. Because the limited number of CSRS employees, we actually give you both of those together. So for $2,500, you get the FERS and the CSRS, and you get the modules that go with each of those two sections. Financial literacy program is $2,000, and then the divorce is $2,500. To renew these, they're $500 per program. If you license the material and you want us to come out and speak once you've licensed it, which is fairly common for someone to do, they'll license it and then we'll come out and deliver the first couple of seminars. And then, they decide whether or not they want to continue to use us or try to do it themselves. It really is, up to you. Excuse me. Our speaking fee is $1,500 a day plus reasonable travel. And then the cost of the books, as I mentioned previously, $10 for a full day, $8 for a half day, and then the modules range $2 to $3. The alternative pricing model says you don't license the material, you don't have access to the slides, you just pay us a straight up fee of $2,000 a day plus reasonable travel and books. All speaking fees are all due 30 days in advance. We do not book airfare unless we have the speaking fees paid, and then the travel and the books are billed in arrears based on actual expenses incurred and the actual books used. So those are the programs that we offer, both the FedEd program as well as the FEBA seminars. So what we do have coming up is we do have a FedEd class that we're going to be conducting, virtually. That class will be held on June, actually should say 17th, 18th, and 19th. We have a typo there. We're going to offer it for 4 hours, and so depending on the time zone, if you're in the East Coast, it's 11 to 3, Central 10 to 2, Mountain Time 10 to 1, and then West Coast 8 to 12. And again, the registration on that closes on June the 3rd. The cost for the class is $16.95. If you need to set up a payment plan that you need to work on to pay prior to the class, we can accommodate that, but all payment must be due before the start of the class, before your final shipment of books will be sent. So again, this is a comprehensive program. We offer the knowledge, the tools, and support for financial advisors. If you have additional questions, you can contact us via our website, or you can call me directly at 720-432-3331. Or if you have additional questions, you can email us at sean@febadvocates.com. So Nick, let's open it up one more time to see if we have any closing questions, and then we'll do a closing statement.
Excellent. I think we had some great questions last time, but anybody else who wants? I don't see any chats. But anybody else who would like to unmute themselves, go for it. And with that, Sean, I think we're good to go.
All right. Well, again, thank you, everyone. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or email me, and we can talk, particularly if you have, just like in your case, John, if you have some more in-depth questions that you want to talk about your team, we can discuss that. I thank everyone for their time. Be safe. Enjoy the long weekend coming up here in a couple days, and everybody stay safe. Thanks again, Nick. Thank you for hosting, and everyone, we'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.